Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Moto, and a few weeks ago we had the top level BMW GS, the R1300, here for our daily rider MPG test, and today we've got the middle sibling, the F900GS. Now, for 2026 model year, it's very important to distinguish between the F900GS and the GS Adventure, which you're seeing right here. They are essentially different bikes, and it's very confusing for BMW calling them virtually the same, because with the R1300, the normal GS and the GS Adventure are pretty much just different by fuel tank size, a few of the optional add-ons, and a few other very subtle differences. Whereas F900GS and GSA are essentially different bikes. The GS is very much more made for going off-road. It's kind of like a middleweight dirt bike, or really a heavy dirt bike, if you will. This is still more akin to the previous F850GS and GS Adventure, where yes, you can take it off-road. It does have a 21-inch front wheel, 17-inch rear. It does have the under engine protection and the side protection and kind of the metal side cases and everything like that. But it's more oriented toward staying on road, doing big miles, and then doing a little bit of dirt and fire road exploring when you'd like. And that is how we use this bike. We've got this in for our middleweight ADV bike ride. We went up the coast of California here. We had this, we had the Moto Stelvio and the Honda Africa Twin. That trip is wrapped up, and I believe you can find it linked below. I'm not 100% sure which video is going to go live first, but I think the comparison will already be live. But now it's time to see what this bike is like from sort of a daily riding perspective. If you want to have a motorcycle to ride into the office, to ride into class, to ride regularly, what is this going to be like? And what you're looking at here is an inline twin 895cc 4-stroke engine, connected to a 6-speed manual transmission with a quick shifter. We've got a 6.1 gallon fuel tank wedged in here, and some 9010 Bridgestone Battle Axe Adventure tires. Yes. So, without any further ado, let's turn on the bike and fire it up for a little cold start. Proxy key. There it is. This is a 270-degree crank parallel twin, so it does have a little bit more of an exciting grunt characteristic than your standard 180-degree crank bike. And personally, I actually prefer the character of this engine over the R1300's boxer motor. I like the sound this one makes, and I also like the sound it doesn't make when you're just cruising at highway speeds. But we'll talk about that here, because we are going to be cruising all sorts of speeds on this bike today. We are going to take it, fill it up here at the pump, and we're going to head out and do about 42 miles maybe. Mixed riding consisting of slower speed city riding, more suburban 55-mile-an-hour roads, and highway. Maybe a little bit of spirited riding in there as well. We're going to talk about what this bike is like to ride just here in the standard real world. Now, I was very impressed with this motorcycle's capabilities on our highway trip. We did about 800 miles. It was fantastic using the cruise control, using the various suspension adjustments, using the side cases. Despite being maybe not quite as powerful as some of the other bikes we had there, 105 horsepower and about 69 pound-feet of torque out of this engine, it still made that power very healthy and had no problem being very exciting when I needed it to, and very calm and comfortable when I wanted it to. Now, full disclosure, we do have a service light on because this bike is in need of its 1,000-mile, or maybe it's even 600-mile service. It's had a break-in oil change already. It's just BMW for their media bikes here. They do those changes earlier, and this one just might have not had its service light reset. We do have a center stand on this bike if you want to do a little chain maintenance on there, since we're not dealing with a shaft drive or anything. You're looking at 550-pound wet and ready-to-ride weight on this bike without the cases. Each case probably adding 20 pounds or so on there, so just under 600 pounds. Myself, I am 5'10", 32-inch inseam, and about 170 pounds, so on the lighter and smaller side for this bike. There we are. Our 6.1 gallon tank is filled up. We are ready to roll. Now, I like BMW's screen controls here. Very nice and easy to use. We're going to get our trip computer reset. Reset all values. Bada bing, bada boom. Now we do have a few different ride modes. We've got Road, Dynamic, Rain, and Enduro Pro. Well, actually, technically we have Enduro and Enduro Pro. We're just going to be doing this test mostly in Road. I'll switch over into Dynamic for our spirited riding section. And it's a nice, beautiful day here in Southern California. We got 83 degrees. It'll cool down a little bit once we get toward Pacific Coast Highway. Pretty ideal. I'm going to be doing this test as though you were just riding into the office on a random Wednesday like this. We're not going to be speeding a bunch. We're going to be staying within about 5 miles of posted speed limits. Just taking it nice and easy. You can see right there I lowered the adjustable windscreen. Very easy to do on the fly. Something that was a bit frustrating when we had the Africa Twin on this trip as well. You kind of needed 2 hands to adjust the windscreen on that one. This is nice little flip up, flip down. Also a little bit of added wind protection here to kind of keep the wind off your torso, make it a very comfortable neutral seating position here. And that quick shifter working nicely. You can do it even through first and second gear, both up and down. Something I would absolutely option on any bike that can support it. I should also mention that our tire pressures are set to their recommended pressure for a single rider with minimal weight on the back. We've got, if I remember correctly, 32 front, 37, I think it was 37 rear at cold. You've got about a 34-inch seat height here on the F900GS. That is adjustable based on different seating options and a few different height adjustments. But if you're about shorter than 5'8" or so, you might have a little bit of trouble with this bike riding at slower speed. Of course, once you get up and rolling, very easy to keep it nice and upright. Just a great little grunt there. I don't think people really think of BMW inline twins as anything special, but I've always really liked this powertrain in their kind of 800 to 900 class bikes. It's just the right amount of power to me to be exciting, to be predictable and smooth. It's efficient, it's simple, and the power band is so versatile as well. Yeah, 69 pound-feet of torque might not seem like that great of a figure, but it's how usable that power is all throughout the power band. If you want to ring it out, it's happy to do so. If you want to lug it, pretty happy to do that too. In fact, I had this bike off-road doing some dirt riding, and it was fun, man. It really was. I was really getting comfortable with it, tossing it around. It pretty much doesn't care what part of the tachometer you have it in, it'll play. Now, this bike is certainly missing the suite of goodies found on its big brother. Things like adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, adaptive suspension. I mean, they really threw the engineering kitchen sink to the R1300, and I'm sure we're seeing some of that engineering trickle down. But this is a BMW GS bike that you can purchase for a whole lot less money. This one much closer to, I think, like a $16,000 starting price, and obviously you add some of the features that you're going to want to have on here and it gets more expensive very quickly. But in general, it is a much more affordable machine, and then it rides much more like a traditional bike. I'll be the first to admit that the R1300, despite being very impressive, it's a bit like riding a spaceship on 2 wheels. There's so much going on, from the adaptive suspension to the telelever fork to the way all of the sensors are filtering your inputs. This F900 still feels a little bit more classic from a riding perspective, while still giving you the safety aspects and the engineering benefits from BMW. If you're riding in an area such as Southern California, where it is legal to lane filter and lane share, then you're going to be dealing with these big old aluminum cases on the back here. They really don't stick out that much further than the handlebars and the mirrors, so that's a pretty safe guess right there. But if you're trying to sneak through anything that's a little bit, you know, wider at the bottom than it is near the top, you definitely need to be careful, especially with your departure. I'm thinking it'll be a little too tight through most of Corona Del Mar here to demonstrate the lane filtering, but we'll see what happens. Fortunately though, you do have all that grunty torque so that you can just kind of get through traffic as you need. All right, let's see here. Yeah, see, you can definitely still do it. If you're used to any larger adventure style motorcycles, you're gonna be just fine on this one. Beautiful day out here on PCH, looking at 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Nice smooth surf coming in. Motorcycles riding up and down the coast. It's a good day to be out. And when you're on the F900 GSA, you could pretty much do any sort of out that you want to be. When we had this machine up on the coast, we had it filled with our gear on the back, and we swung down to the beach. We went swimming, we went camping, and we did long distance, higher speed riding, and it performed all of it admirably. But now we get to see how it handles more of the city slog coming into Laguna Beach. Maybe not everybody's idea of a city, but it should still be illuminating for us to see how this middleweight-ish, I think it's, especially in BMW's lineup, very safe to say middleweight ADV bike does here at more tighter quarters. First of all, no issue with the noise, that's for sure. It's got a nice pleasant sound to it. Sounds very motorcycle-esque. So even when we're idling along, shouldn't feel bad about that. Also, the bike has a very comfortable standing position. Here I am again, 5'10", 32-inch inseam, and my arms are fully outstretched as I stand, and my legs are fully out as well. I will admit, you do hit the tank a little bit on the Adventure here as you're leaning forward, but for just kind of casual stretching yourself out sort of standing, works out very nicely. We've got metal pegs on here, which I am perfectly okay with. I had no issues with those throughout our long extended highway rides. Virtually no vibration. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we're on the highway. But coming down here, oh, here we go. Here's a nice little filtering opportunity. Oh yeah, sneak it through. Very nice. Doesn't that just sound cool? It's just a nice, pleasant, lower pitched rumble. Fun fact, this is an all-electric Frito-Lay delivery truck. It's on a Ford E-Transit platform. We've seen a few of them around Orange County here. It's cool to me. It was sitting there next to a, what do you call it, grocery store. And all you heard was just a light whir of the air conditioning running. Very cool. You can see how it's kind of a nice, pleasant, quiet idle on this bike. So even here, this residential or kind of touristy sort of area, I don't feel bad just having it kind of sit idling. And as I said, it's going to be a little bit further of a reach for some shorter riders to put their feet down, and admittedly it carries its weight decently high between the larger fuel tank and kind of the overall nature of the bike. It's not like the R1300 with that low boxer twin kind of keeping the center of gravity down, but I still like the kind of general character of the machine. Suspension, plenty of travel, over 8 inches, both front and rear, so bumps like that, absorbs nicely. Full adjustability too there. Compression, rebound dampening, everything, preload. 3rd Street Hill. Yeehaw! Wheelie control, traction control, ABS Pro, all of the safety goodies here on this bike. And of course, a lot of those are disableable in the various modes. Coming up to our spirited riding section here. Maybe you've got a part of your commute where you can string together some good corners. You want to open the bike up a little bit. So let's use our mode button to shift up to dynamic. It's going to sharpen throttle response, make the motor just a little bit more gutsy, but no active dampers here, so it's not like it's changing anything in that regard. We will also switch our screen over to the... we don't have a sports screen on this bike. All right, well, we'll just go up to the normal tack then. Give ourselves a little bit of runway. Doesn't that thing sound cool? working great. Plenty of peg clearance. I like the riding position where I can kind of get up and on top of the handlebars on this one. You can't really do that on the R1300. You're sort of always riding in the machine, whereas this bike still feels like you can kind of get up and on it and ring it around a little bit. Now the steering's still not that quick. We still have the 21-inch wheel. We've still got the steering damper and just the general layout of this machine. But for something that you could wake up and scream out like that, to me it's just the perfect amount of power, great redline, where you can use the whole rev range and you can give it the full beans without immediately doing illegal speeds. Quick gear check for the ride. We are running our Revit gear for today. We've got our Ortez jeans, our boundless boots, our off-track jacket, and our dirt gloves. This is a nice little kind of daily rider sort of setup. Looks normal on just about any bike. Obviously the dirt gloves giving it a little bit more of an ADV style. I just like how they have this little wrist slider on them. Provide nice, good protection there. They are a little bit warm for a daily rider glove, but good amount of protection. I've also got my Arai Contour X helmet on. A little bit of high vis here to help people see me. And I'm wearing my favorite, my Helite H-Move backpack. It's a wireless, cordless tether. Or I guess that's kind of oxymoronic, isn't it? It's a cordless trigger, and makes it so that if I were to have an accident, I would have airbag protection on me. I don't have the backpack portion on today. I just have the kind of the core airbag portion. Coming into the end of our city-ish section, nothing too remarkable about the F900GS here around town. I mean, it certainly does it all. I wouldn't call it fantastic at any of it, but great suspension, easy maneuverability, good guts to the motor. Yeah, no problem riding around town. A little bit less weight to manage than one of the big bikes. But getting it up here at more suburban type roads, we're going to appreciate the wind protection. If it were chilly out, we'd appreciate the wind protection on our hands as well as the heated grips. I should also mention that right here is a wireless phone charger. And I think this is fantastic because you got some bikes like the Honda Africa Twin that have phone projection built into their screen. But you gotta plug your device in or get some sort of wireless dongle, and it's cumbersome. Whereas this, you can just slap your phone on here. Most modern phones get wirelessly charged. And then you have your own projection right up there. You get your text messages if you want them, you get your Google Maps, your Waze, your Apple Maps, whatever sort of navigation, your Reaver, I mean, whatever you want to do for navigation. And it's a simple and elegant solution rather than having to plug devices in. I mean, you can use BMW's built-in nav, but again, that's clunky. You got to have the app running, you got to have your phone plugged in. I prefer this solution. We do have cruise control on this bike, something that I would essentially necessitate on a motorcycle in this class and this price point. It works well. You flip it on with your left hand and off you go. Of course, we'll be using it more on the highway, but you never know. Sometimes the highway audio can get a little messed up, so wanted to be sure to highlight it here. Coming up to the highway portion of the test. Hopefully our audio will be nice and crispy clean for you. But this is, I'm not going to say where the F900GS shines, but it certainly is appreciated. You can put on big miles, you're comfortable in the seat, comfortable with the ergos, and comfortable with the protection. You sit up nice and tall on the F900GS, very easy to see up and over and around traffic. No blind spot monitoring, and admittedly after having the Stelvio on this trip as well, that would be nice to have, but I get it. Another GS enthusiast there, riding without gloves. Interesting. It is 92 degrees out, but still cold. So let's get our cruise set. There we are, 73. That should be giving us about 70 to 71 or so on our GPS. And yeah, vibrations minimal, and unlike the R1300GS, This bike is incredibly silent from an engine perspective when cruising here at 70 miles per hour. We're about 4,500 RPM, don't hear it. Now if I lean on it, there it is, you get that intake grunt, but yeah, nothing from here. Wind protection with the windshield up, solid, although I am getting some turbulent air right at the top of my head windshield. So I've got earplugs in, but if I were going to do a lot of miles on this bike, I would probably install some sort of larger windscreen. Wrapping up the highway portion here on the F900GS. Perfectly competent. Like I said, you'll have no problem putting on big miles with this bike. It's going to be comfortable. It's going to be fine. And that does lead me into my ever kind of lasting thoughts on this bike. I've done an extended trip with this bike. I also did an extended trip with the previous version, the 850 GSA, and I very much liked both of them. As an on-paper motorcycle, they do a fantastic job at just about every sort of riding. They're fun to toss around, they're comfortable to cruise on, you can put a passenger, you can put gear, you can ride them on-road, off-road, doesn't matter. And I like riding it better in a day-to-day environment than the R1300. The R1300 is an incredible bike, don't get me wrong. It's just too disconnected for me and it's too big. This one is not that much smaller in the grand scheme. However, it does still provide a more traditional motorcycling experience than its big brother. Interestingly though, despite 50 fewer pounds and less power, we are looking at a similar fuel economy readout. So we'll get it back to the pump here, we'll top it off, see what our final number is. Here we are, all topped off. We put in 0.821 gallons back into the 6.1 gallon tank here on the F900GSA. And after 42.9 miles of mixed riding travel, that gives us a total of 52 miles per gallon here for this middleweight adventure bike. So after we got the calculation at the pump, we are doing a little bit better than the R1300GS. That's what I would have expected. And well, pretty decent figure considering the capabilities of this motorcycle. BMWs, cars or bikes, it doesn't matter, they're always just so efficient. 52 miles per gallon times that 6.1 gallon tank's giving you a healthy 310 miles of mixed driving range, or riding range rather, here on the F900GS Adventure. So, what is this bike like to ride? Man, I need to get some water in me. It's entirely competent. It's so good at just about everything you need it to do. It'll keep you warm, it'll keep you cool, it'll go fast, it'll go slow. It looks cool doing it. It's great on paper, maybe missing a little bit of that fizz that some of the other bikes have, both in this class and in general on two wheels, but a motorcycle that I'm always happy to swing a leg over and would be great in your garage for just about any sort of use. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the F900GSA, check the link below for our comparison test with the Africa Twin and the Stelvio. I also took the 850 GSA on an extended trip to Death Valley last year, so I'll put the link to that one here below as well. It's essentially the same bike, this one just a little bit more powerful and just that much better. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from DM Moto, and as always, ride on.